Good evening, good evening. This is Demore, back for Demore Unfiltered. And I just came across a very interesting article I saw on Facebook involving two gay individuals who one is now deceased and the other is now facing a second-degree charge, also possession with a weapon in the fourth degree. So this all took place in Syracuse, New York. The parties, Tyler Kimber, who is the one that's facing the criminal charges, as well as the deceased, Devontae Crosby. Now, they did, according to police, they did state that these two individuals were together for, they say, 10 days, which I'm still confused on a 10-day relationship, but again, that's just the estimate time frame that they stated in the report. Now, pretty much this all happens that they was apparently a very volatile situation. So one night, I know the police said they was called to the residence of Devontae at least 2 times. And of course, on the third time that they was called, after everything had settled, arguments had stopped, and they got a more cooler head. They did demand that Tyler Kilmore either vacate the premises or have somebody come and pick him up, because this is getting too out of hand, and then we're gonna keep getting called back to this residence over the same things, whatever's going on. So they asked Tyler, since he couldn't find a ride to get back or to someone to stay with, that he needed to book a hotel room. So he found a hotel room, which is said like 3 blocks away from the residence of Devontae. And they escorted him to the hotel, but somehow Tyler made up his mind that he was going to go back. Now, you know, I don't understand why would you go back, especially something that just happened more than once at their residence. If you were and him were allegedly fighting over something, why would you go back? That's the part I never understood. But unfortunately, when Tyler went back to Devontae's house, that's when all things broke loose. All hell broke loose. So, a little before 3:40 a.m., the police was called back, and unfortunately, they did find Devontae unalive at his residence. And of course, they did lock up Tyler on possession of murder, since he was the person in question. So, fast forward to today. Now Tyler Kilmore's attorneys are trying to get him off on a domestic abuse charge, meaning that he will face not the full 25 years that he was originally convicted of, which is that second-degree murder and possession of a weapon in the fourth degree, but he will at least get at least 15 years if the judge finds in perspective that he was the victim of domestic abuse when involved with Devontae. Now, I personally don't understand, if you were a victim of domestic abuse, or of course, why would you go back to the place in question? Now, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people out there, whether being straight or gay, that will continue to go back to their lovers who are abusing them, not just physical but psychological, everything under the sun. But now you want to claim self-defense for the reason why you unalive Devontae. I personally don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that's going to fly. Because again, that special domestic abuse charge that you're trying to get, and let me scroll back up here because I'm also reading off here, which they call is the Domestic Violence Survivors Justice Act, which was enacted in 2019. Meaning that if the defendant was a victim of substantial domestic violence, consists of physical, sexual, psychological abuse by a member of the family or household. So that means that if you were sexually abused, physically abused, or psychologically abused by your parents or someone in your immediate family, or Devontae himself, which we can't ask him because he is no longer here in the physical realm, then the judge can take that at and give you a less no less charge, at least 15 years according to the laws and this of this act. But I don't know how that would stand if you were and you did return back to the residence after the police has specifically told your ass to stay at the hotel. But you decide to bring your ass back to Devontae's house, knowing that all the stuff y'all been through throughout the morning, that the police have been called up there to the residence more than once. Why would you go back? But now you want to cry and say, oh, I was abused. Devontae abused me. He did this, he did it. Again, I don't know these individuals, but looking from the outside in, I just cannot imagine you now want to claim self-defense. Where was the self-defense during the initial call for the police? Where was that? Where was that logic? Now, if he was abusing you, that should have been your cue to say, yes, I've been abused, blah, 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 blah. And then where is the substantial evidence of this abuse, of this alleged sexual or physical or psychological abuse that you were the victim of by Devontae? I'm really lost at this. So, right now, that's the latest update in regards to the situation. And, I'm, again, just feel like who's right, who's wrong. And again, I'm trying to find how to connect the evidence that shows that you was fighting for your life, but you still went back to the place in question, which is Devontae's house, after you was escorted by the police to your hotel that you booked, so that you couldn't get a ride to get back to wherever you stayed at prior to, or at least go to a friend's house. Now, I just want to know your guys' thoughts about this, because again, this is a very interesting story, and it's definitely, again, not just in my community, but across the spectrum. How would you deduce or rationale if Tyler should get, or the judge should find in his favor for domestic protection from abuse from the hands of either Devontae or anything in his past or history that he was a victim of? Should he be just charged with self-defense, or should he just stick with the charges, which is the second degree of murder with the possession of a weapon in the fourth degree? Because I don't know how they're going to beat that, because again, it's a lot to take in. So right now they're still waiting on the judge to make the decision, and I believe it's set for June 1st. Whether he's going to rule and apply the Domestic Violence Survivors Justice Act restrictions on that date. So, got a couple of months, well, almost like a month and a half, something like that, to once we get the latest update in this case. But just let me know your thoughts about this. Again, this is the Morning Filter. Let's talk about it. Share the clip, and I'll catch you later. Bye.